dream if I haven't shared it with you. Maybe I already did. I don't remember. But I don't know. It was a few days ago, and I dreamed that Sandy and I were over at the corporate seminar this fall.
Okay. Go ahead.
And we were getting ready to go out and eat, and we had a choice. We could go out to the restaurants where everybody else did, the less expensive restaurant. And I said, and we came to there was like a set of stairways. One set of stairways went to the right, and the other went to the left. And I said to Sandy, Sandy, forget the money. Let's go big. Money won't be a factor. We'll just take the stairs to the left, and we'll go eat and style. We'll take the expensive restaurant. So we go down the stairs to the expensive restaurant, and as we walk into this room, all of a sudden we're surrounded by all these really high-ranking Eckas, the ones that are, the real high initiates, and we're just surrounded by them. And as we walk in, they have a buffet, and they're setting up all the roast beef and all the dinners. They're setting up the tables, and we're right in the midst of all this, and the food is just fabulous. And there was this one Eckas that I don't know if I saw him in person or in dreams, but he was about 7 feet tall and skinny, and I think he's a real Eckas over there that I ran into once in a while, like in Minneapolis. But he was there in the group along with everybody else. But I do not recall seeing either. I never saw Harry, and I never saw what's her name. I didn't see
Joni?
those. Huh?
Joni?
Yeah, Joni and Harry were not in this group, but all these other people were way up there. There were big wheels in the corporation, and they were all dressed to the hilt with their coats and ties, and that was really kind of interesting. And so Sandy, they were very friendly. They didn't say, "Well, what are you doing here?" Nothing that. So Sandy and I just blended right in, like we were part of their group. And then I woke up from that dream.
Is this to be continued, Bob? You guys are going to go the other way next?
We better not.
Well,
you got to notice what else is there.
By other way, you mean?
Well, he said there are 2 stairways, one to the left.
Right. One to the right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you going to take the right one the next time?
No, I think we're going to eat in style over there.
Well, we're supposed
style.
to. I think he's saying we need to take the right stairway, the right one.
Go to the right.
Well, this is kind of like a Netflix episode. So in other words, you had that experience. All I'm saying is, are you going to see what's to the right?
Yeah.
Well, we can do that.
To be continued, huh?
So that's
yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting dream that you talked about, meeting with the higher ups, like the Sandy's people, the people that you know from way back when, and maybe we would have, that would mean that we'd have a chance to actually follow through and actually mingling with them, like you mentioned previously.
Well, yeah, that's part of the adventure. As long as you're going to go there, again, when you just, I remember going to some of the seminars, and outside would be the religious protesters with signs and whatever, and handing out their things. And I talk to them sometimes just for the fun of it. And so if you're going to go there on this adventure, for me, I wouldn't do it like that, because you're just going to look like a protester, and you're going to get a defensive attitude. So again, the idea was going around and inviting these people to dinner. would you like to have dinner with us? All right. So they're going to be under the impression that you're going to be paying for the dinner. All right. But you're just inviting them to dinner. You get them all together and just kind of listen and kind of chat with them and see where kind of things go, and then possibly give them some hints, not point blank, but as you get up and you guys go to the bathroom and then take off and just leave them there, and they wonder where you're at after a while. You've left maybe some notes on the chair or something, but I don't know. That's just an idea. You have to kind of imagine it yourself as long as you're going to go there. But we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, that's just kind of the idea. So you're getting a view there, and I would say the ones that are taller than you and 7 foot and whatever. I have experiences like this. I remember one experience like that to where my former girlfriend's parents were much taller than me. And the idea is that it's not that they're bigger than me, so to speak. It's just that they look down upon me, you see? That's the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a difference. When you see Rebazar and he's bigger than you, that's something. But, it's the attitudes of others, and the Eckas, yeah, they're fine with you because they basically look down upon us. They really do. Yeah, and it seems like that, again, you took the left-hand stairway. It would seem like that what they're doing is working. It's all good, you see? Is it? So all I'm saying is that why don't you try the other way and see what happens over there?
Okay. Hey, by the way, speaking of tall people, I've had many, many, many dreams where I was in a house with really tall people, like 10 or 12 feet tall, and the steps going up to their upstairs, their steps were like 2 feet high, like knee high steps. So I had to grab a railing and take a big step, or I had to I'd stand in front of one step and put my knee on it and kind of roll over and pull myself up on that step. And I had many dreams of those people. Do you have any idea who that could have been?
It's probably your mother-in-law's house.
Yeah, probably.
She don't want you to go upstairs, so she made bigger steps in the house.
She would.
No, what it would be is that it's the boys, as you're going up to, you might say, the higher worlds. We'll just use that. The second floor in houses means a lot of that. In other words, this is the earth level. The second floor is above that to where you can look down. So that's like the real side, okay? As an example, it's a simple example. And the steps are big because, again, they're, as you proceed and decide to climb the steps to the real side, the steps are bigger than you consider, you see. Yeah, they always are. I've had experiences where I'm leading people up stairway, but these people are like 8 inches tall. And to me, as a regular person, let's just say I'm 6 foot, and I'm going up regular steps, which are about 7.5, 8 inches tall. Okay, so I'm walking up the steps, but these are the people that are coming up and looking at what we're doing. Well, they're about 8 inches tall, and so those steps are really big, you see? Yeah, so what you're doing, see, what you're doing is the boys are there, and until you recognize what's going on and better understand, well, those steps that you're going through, just like the steps we're going through, seem a lot bigger, don't they? So it's just like if you wanted to be a doctor and you have to go to school for 10 years. Well, it seems overwhelming, doesn't it? It's like, whoa, these are big steps I have to go through, and you imagine yourself like the steps are higher than you, and you got to jump up and pull yourself up each step. And so what that is that's just a reference to what you're going through. But as you understand, then the steps become more, you might say, normal, don't they? And it's easier to walk up. But at first, these seem like big steps. And what we're presenting like never before, I see it, for the general public and most people, I don't care what they've been in, these steps are huge as to what I'm presenting, because it's not the same. It's not the same as what was presented before. Yeah. And so this is where they are a particular size. They see things a particular way. And then all of a sudden what I'm presenting, whoa, it's way too much. It's like, well, I'm not even going to try and climb that. It's just way too much. That's where most people just back off. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a hint. But it could have been your mother-in-law. So.
Well, my ex-wife's family was her uncle and that whole family. They were all reptilians. They came from Eastern Europe. They were from the bloodlines of almost like the royalty of England. And I didn't know it at the time, but I now know it. My ex-wife uncle was the chairman of the board of Champaign County, and made life pretty miserable for me. So yeah, now that could be true. My ex-wife's family would have done that, but not this one so much.
Well, we all go through this, don't we, Bob? And then we just keep going through it. Yes. Until we really, really decide to get going with something that makes sense. And it takes a lot. I get it. It takes a lot. It's not more than just a head thing. See, again, this is why the world is fine with, they will take abuse from the political and religious and spiritual systems and all this stuff and become vegetarians and celibates and, have to vote, be intimidated to vote for Democratic or Republican or whatever. They'll take the abuse because facing themselves and getting real with the whole of life, that's huge. That's a toughie. So, it's very interesting, the situation we're in. And this is where you really have to decide. This is kind of how you set up a plan, you might say, for yourself, and to identify all these things and compare even what I've created here. And Paul and the boys know this. They don't care what, he did his thing and he's done with it. And so with what he did and whatever, you see, there's a whole lot of difference. This is why, again, very few people take this on. Very few people succeed, because even what I'm presenting is very minimal compared to what is and what's coming. Yeah, I'm trying to prepare everybody for what's coming. It's going to be so much so and so real that, the old routines aren't going to work at all. None of it. So again, you decide how real and wonderful you want to become. And, it's like we have the animals, we have the trees, we have the birds and all this, but eventually, it's just like our family. It's just like we were raised with a family, but eventually it's time to go. It's time to let all that go. I had a family. I had a daughter. It was very real. It was wonderful. I was there till she was 18, but now it's done. I'm done with all that. Emotionally, within myself, attachments, everything. I'm all done with that. I don't hold on to that. I don't have pictures of my daughter in the room here that I look at all the time, whatever. But that's, again, I'm on with this. That's done. And so I don't go reminisce, and I don't send her birthday cards and what have you. No, I don't do any of that. I don't send Christmas cards or whatever. No, I'm focused on this. This is real. This takes care of everything. Those people are on their own journey. They decide, and if they wake up in time, but who knows, because once this life passes, they're going to go to the real side, and they're not going to know where they're at. That's just very real. They won't even know whatever, for the most part. They really won't. Because again, here is where it is, and they're going to be in the same position they are here if they haven't decided. It's not going to be any different, and for the most part, they'll decide to come back. So all those little attachments, and all those little things. So I love this journey. I have to deal with myself here. I really do. And I'm not perfect. It's not about that. I just do what I do. And I have little attitudes too, and I have to confront them and deal with them. But overall, my intent is 100% focused on this. Very genuine, very sincere. That's it. I don't want anything from anyone. Just to present this, do this, stand real with the is. And that's huge. That's huge to do that. And so eventually there will be that time when you need to just walk away. Will you do it? Will you do it? Will you take the next step? And so it's always there for you. But if you don't, then what do? You stay where you are? Well, life doesn't stop, you might say. It only becomes more real. And so you decide. So right now you have this opportunity, and to prepare yourself for the next moment and the next moment and the next moment, to be real and decide each time, and because things are going to come up, just like we're dealing with the world. Things come up in creation all the time. We decide what we're going to do with it. In creation, it's not about perfection. It's not about an absolute. We can't save the world. That's no way, because a lot of people, they don't care and they don't want to save the world. They want things just like they are. Even though they complain and bitch about it, they still want it just like it is. Yeah. And so, years ago, I remember that, people complained about the deficit, which is all fake, but they did. And so just to jerk the public off, and they do it all the time, but the so-called leaders, the Congress and whatever, they just decided to start eliminating all these programs, which they do all the time anyhow, to jerk off people. They create them, then they start eliminating. And then people started complaining, you see, etc. Because it's like, well, we want to help the deficit, but then at the same time, and the deficit was created. If it's a real deficit, we'll just pretend it is for the moment. Well, it's all created by the banksters. They created it, not the public. Okay, they're at the mercy of what the banksters create. But anyhow, so then, see, they know the psychology of people, so they'll start cutting the programs. Then people start complaining about, oh, you're cutting the programs. And so now they'll implement again. It goes back and forth. So again, this is what we're dealing with here. So it's not about that, though. So it's about creating a new position. So this is where, confronting what has been created to keep everybody restricted and captive doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless it does. But what does make sense is create a new position, like the wonderful worldwide educators, and doing something with the world to see if the world will wake up. That's the idea of the Vessel Project, to create a demonstration. So yeah, the challenge with anything that we have here, young man, and so you're going to go on this adventure, and you created it, you decided it. I just gave you some ideas. And so because you decided it, life itself, and especially the boys, are going to give you some hints here. But remember, okay, just because you had that experience, you are the decider. You don't just say, oh, gee, this is how it's going to be. Well, it could be, okay, but you're still the decider. Is that what you want? It's like what you want for dinner. Oh, I want, apples and oranges. But then the next moment you go, you know what, I don't want apples and oranges. I want a steak and baked potato, you see. I mean, you can change from moment to moment. And what is right or wrong? They're just giving you hints. But the best part is that you can be creative with any situation you're in, just like James Bond. He doesn't know what he's going to come across, but he grabs something, grabs a toaster, hits the guy over the head, whatever it takes, okay, or breaks the window and jumps out. He just grabs something there, and this is what we do too here. We grab something and be creative. So you've had this example, you're shown certain things, but keep in mind you're always the decider, and you can always decide to even surpass that or sidestep it. You see? So this is what we're learning, and to see the bigger picture. I like the challenge of the unknown, okay? What I don't know. That's the challenge I like, not what I do know, because eventually I will know it. But I like the challenge of, I just walk into something and it's fine. Like I'll do it. Like on the real side, each time the boys presented this next step to me, I was on a very high cliff or whatever. And the idea was taking the leap. I didn't even consider it. I just jumped. And so each time, I don't even think about it. Just like this, when they said, who wants to do this? I stepped up right away. I didn't even consider it. I just said, I'll do it. So you are the decider. You are creating the adventure. We're creating opportunities here. And this is the best part. This is how you free yourself from restrictions, is stepping up and taking the risk, not standing back and being the good person and obeying the rules and regulations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a part of us that does that. We play the game. That's where you play the game, okay? But you do it kind of funny, a little bit tricky and clever, etc., but not interfering or hurting others. That's not the idea. So if I don't pay my credit card bill, who does that hurt? Really doesn't hurt anybody, because it's all created out of nothing. And they know that, and they laugh about it, yet they still call me on the phone. And it's like, well, you know, you missed your payment here 400 times, Duane, and, you know, we can make a deal here, right? And so sometimes I have fun talking to them. But again, so I play with the system in my own way, but to where it doesn't hurt others, to where it actually benefits others, but they don't see the benefit. And actually what I'm doing, as an example, with the credit card companies, it is a benefit to them if they'll listen, but they don't want to listen. They want to obey the rules and regulations made by others. So we have a heck of a challenge here, don't we, Bob?
One final comment. I had sort of an aha moment a couple days ago, and that was living in the now. And last time we talked, you said, well, look at now. And I'm reminded of the old, you remember those old 16 millimeter cameras you had, and you had the film, and you'd pull out the film, and you could advance it a frame at a time. So my new realization is we need to take the moving world that we see and still frame it and break it down into individual frames. So like you say, like now, we're taking any motion, anything that's going on here, and still framing it one frame at a time and stepping it forward. So that was kind of an interesting observation to me anyway.
Bob, let me real fast interject here, and that is, you ever been on a bus or a train or bus when somebody pulls the cord?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the whole bus stops.
Uh-huh.
The whole train stops and everybody flies out of their seats and whatever. You've seen it in the movies, right?
Right.
So when you use the reference we instead of me, there's a difference. So you can do it for yourself, but if you try to do it for others, that's what can happen. You see? So the world is doing what it is. Yes, you're seeing it in a frame at a time. We don't decide for others. We do what we do. In other words, it's really the reference is the me, etc. So, yeah, again, and I'm not saying this or that. I'm just saying that, yeah, we're not here to change the world. We're not here to decide for it. But that nowness is all about you. And what the world does, the world is going to do. You have to let the world do what it does. So this is where, as we create something, just like the worldwide educators, we've created a reference for those that want to stand up and take part. But what the rest of the world is doing, no, we don't interfere at all. So we don't pull that line, you see?
Well, I was just thinking for myself,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's how I'm going to start viewing things, one frame at a time.
Yeah. So again, as we get into this, and so, yeah, I'm not saying you or whatever, we sometimes, we want others to think like us, and that's not the idea. We don't need to go past ourselves. So we're presenters. This is what I like about this. I haven't made it a whatever. Like Paul made Eckankar a spiritual path. He put the label on it. He created the reference. The new presentation is not that. It's not a category. You see, it's because it's just if it were a category, it's just a presentation. That's really all it is. Even though I created the foundation as a 501c3, that's the business side in the physical sense, but the reality of it is a presentation. So this is the fun that we have with it. So again, as we go along, this is where we watch what we're doing, because again, we're not here to decide for the world, but we do have rights to decide for ourselves and also not be interfered with too. So yeah, that's the razor's edge with this also. Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, Duane.
Yeah,
It's been a
thank you.
wonderful session today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Duane.
All those rules and regulations that Duane is making reference to are the normal things that the average person does in his normal life that he's been led to believe is the right way to do things to keep out of trouble. And the moving beyond that is when it gets a little scary, and you find out the further you go in the other direction, the less scary it gets. But that, again, you got to deal with the fear by facing the fear, and that becomes the process. So.
Okay. Thank you.